Hello everybody and welcome to Parks Bros. It's Drew here. We are finally at Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri. So let's go in and find out all that this amazing park has to offer. Look at this, we've already time traveled back to the year 1881, it would seem. Even though we haven't ridden Time Traveler yet. But this is an awesome little detail that I absolutely love. We haven't even technically gotten into the park yet. We just walked past the entrance sign, but I'm already loving everything. Alrighty, we're going to Time Traveler. Just finished a cinnamon roll at the bakery early in the morning on Earth Day, and now we're heading to ride Time Traveler. Let's do this thing. There it is, the time machine, Time Traveler in the flesh.
It looks like we have some design schematics for the time traveling machine. I wonder if it'll actually work.
My goodness, Time Traveler, what a fun experience. Now, I'm looking around and I'm noticing a lot of people don't have any masks. Like, all the masks are gone. Like, no one's wearing them. Anyway, I think we're gonna go ride it again, even though everything seems to have changed a little bit, but that's okay. We're gonna go get one more ride for sure.
Hugo Hershend, a Chicago-based vacuum salesman, purchased the now famous Marvel Cave after half a century of operating as the Ozark Mountains' longest-running tourist spot. The cave, once known as Marble Cave, has its first written history beginning in 1869. It was nicknamed this after it was believed to hold a massive wall of marble after an expedition to find lead was held in 1882. With much mining to take place in the following years, the only resources found within included mainly bat guano. The wall that was believed to be made of beautiful marble was instead tough limestone, and the mining operations soon dissolved, changing hands of the Marble Cave to the Canadian-born Lynch family. The Lynches saw the value of the cave as a potential sightseeing tour, as much of the mining infrastructure and vastness of the cave made it easy to bring in visitors on vacation from the major cities of Missouri and beyond. This leads us back to Hugo and the Hershend family. Hugo, however, wouldn't live to see how massive of a tourist attraction the cave would become, as he passed away in 1955. His wife, Mary, along with their two sons, Peter and Jack, carried on Hugo's legacy by adding many improvements to the cave tour, with the most recognizable being the railway, still in operation to this day at the end of each tour. With this addition, the final major cave update was completed. The next logical step, as seen by many now famous theme parks in the US, was the creation of a themed village featuring shows, shops, and food. This small town would house the infamous Hatfields and McCoys, who would have shootouts and brawls on the daily as a classic mid-20th century show. With expansion came new beginnings, and friendlier faces, as on May 1st, 1960, Silver Dollar City was born.
Next up, we're gonna go to the mine train in the park, Thunderation TNT. Wait a second, just yesterday. Wait a second. Wait, huh? Walking through the park now, everything is so gorgeous and so empty. Well, now we're heading over to Wildfire. It's kind of weird walking through the park at the moment. It feels like I've almost stepped back in time.
Fire in the Hole, the now cult classic ride at Silver Dollar City, opened to guests in 1972. This whimsical and startling take on incidents that may or may not have occurred in the land Silver Dollar City resides details the town of Marmaros, or Greek for marble, and its eventual demise. Marmaros was a small town that existed during the era of the Marble Cave Mining and Manufacturing Company. Under the ownership of T. Hodges Jones, the boom town that held many miners and their families in the pursuit of guano would rapidly expand in the mid-1880s. However, the town would only last around 5 years before the mining company folded and Marmaros was officially a ghost town. This is where history starts to get fuzzy, and we meet the villains of this classic ride. Nathaniel Kinney moved to Taney County, Missouri in 1883, and all he found was scum and villainy. The decades following the end of the Civil War led southern Missouri to a failing economy and filled it with disorder. Outlaws ruled the land with near to nothing in terms of law enforcement. With the filling and bribing of juries, not a single of the 40 murderers was found to be convicted from 1865 to 1885. Kinney, frustrated by the absence of justice after a murderer again walked free, founded a group of 12 county leaders to change those enforcing the law in the area surrounding Branson. The group would meet on Snaps Bald and grow to over 200 by 1885. Although the group had what many would consider good intentions, the Bald Knobbers soon became infamous. Wearing horned black masks, the faction began their reign over the region. Instead of upholding the law, the vigilantes would show force in the hundreds against evildoers, especially those who affected others within the group. A notable instance of this had a group of 100 breaking into Taney County Jail to kidnap the Taylor brothers, who injured a Bald Knobber shopkeeper. These brothers may be the influence for the Bolin brothers in the Frisco Steam Train Show and the flooded mine attraction. Yet the Taylors met a much less friendly fate at the hands of the Bald Knobbers. The band of so-called do-gooders would expand to nearly 1,000 members and begin to terrorize those they saw as unhelpful to their families or society. As they grew in number, they grew in violence. Flogging was given to those suspected of crimes, and many were even killed. The most troubling example of this included the disappearance of those who would talk unfavorably about the group. By this point, the Bald Knobbers would split in two, with one group still in support of Nathaniel Kinney and his vision. The anti-Bald Knobbers would soon form an opposition to what they considered tyranny in the region. However hard the anti-Bald Knobbers tried to thwart the original group, the Bald Knobbers found ways to thrive in opposition by, at one moment, burning down the county courthouse to avoid state audit. After 4 years of attempting to, in his mind, gain control over lawlessness in Taney County, Nat Kinney would be assassinated by an anti-Bald Knobber while preaching in 1888, fracturing the movement further. In the following year, it is believed that the Bald Knobbers, still causing terror throughout the Ozarks, would burn Marmaros to the ground in either a drunken fight or a xenophobic attack in retaliation to the lands purchased by a Canadian, William Henry Lynch. This event in particular would be the inspiration for Fire in the Hole. Located on Hugo's Hill Street, this dark ride on steroids takes you into the burning of the town of Marmaros and brings along many harrowing twists and turns you will not see coming. As you step into the shoes of a local volunteer firefighter, you encounter the arsenry and horror the vigilantes were capable of. You come across shootouts, kidnappings, and much, much more before you narrowly escape and yell the words, "Fire in the hole!" Wildfires in the Ozark Mountains were fairly common in the 1700s, with nearly 70% of areas showing tree damage and many burns coinciding with the migration of indigenous Americans. During periods such as the introduction of horses to the Osage Nation and forced movement by Euro-American settlement, wildfires increased significantly. However, As influential as these fires would become, they would only give way to the name for one of Silver Dollar City's most important attractions. This $14 million large-scale roller coaster opened on April 4th, 2001 to much praise and crowds. While this B&M sit-down coaster features the name Wildfire, the name stems from a more obscure theme. As the story goes, an inventor within the shadow of the Ozarks, Dr. Horatio Harris, was obsessed with inventing new and exciting ways into the future of technology. While many blueprints and inventions lined the queue, his main passion was to find a way to fly. Eventually, mixing a special fuel, Dr. Harris would be able to, in theory, fly high above the Ozarks. The ride encourages you to take on this flying machine powered by wildfire, and while no official documentation exists on whether the 1880s genius was able to fly or not, you can soar into the skies above one of the most immensely beautiful views on any coaster. As you dive down a hillside and into the first of the ride's many inversions, you get a full sight of what seems to feel like the entirety of the Ozarks. Werner Stengel made sure to make this flying machine feel out of control as an untested flying machine of the 19th century should. 5 inversions await you, including a cobra roll, vertical loop, and even a couple corkscrews. These all occur while you zip by at a top speed of 66 miles an hour, which at the time made it Silver Dollar City's fastest and most intense roller coaster by a wide margin. Located past the American Plunge log flume, Wildfire finds itself standing alone within the park. This makes the coaster feel grand, in addition to an exit platform in which you can see other operating flights glide above and below you. It truly is one of the most magnificent looking rides in the world. With its opening in 2001, it set Silver Dollar City on a new path. Previously to Wildfire, the park had no operating coasters with inversions or that reached speeds of over 50 miles an hour. It began a new direction for the park, while appeasing more than just families who visited and successfully brought in 2.1 million visitors to the park that year. Branson, Missouri was now a major thrill destination overnight, and Wildfire would be popularly received by many in the thrill junkie community. The coaster's triumph would mold the park into being a brilliant destination for all across the US and world, and thus potentially led to outrageous prototype coasters getting the green light like Powder Keg, Outlaw Run, and Time Traveler. Wait, speaking of Time Traveler,
So after checking out Wildfire, I wanted to ride all the amazing other coasters I've heard about, like Outlaw Run, Powder Keg. None of those were there. I was kind of confused. So now I'm heading back to Time Traveler. Hopefully I'll be able to ride that. And I don't know. I asked a couple employees about it, and they were really confused. So hopefully Time Traveler is, still a ride I can check out. Hopefully it's still there. Oh